Hello everybody and welcome to my little studio in Germany. I'm going to talk about Wavetables synthesis again today, but specifically about Tone2 Icarus 2 and the nice import functions or features that you have in this synth. Because in my opinion, Icarus has really some of the best import functions, and you have a nice selection of functions. So if one doesn't work for a sample, you can just try out the other ones until you find something that you like. And you also have some interesting functions such as using vocoding. So sometimes you even make nice, happy surprise happy accident surprises. So Icarus is really nice for importing all kinds of audio files into a wavetable. So you don't have to use audio files for Icarus that are a specific length, or have to tell Icarus how long or how many samples in a waveform and so on. You can just put an audio in and audio file in, and tell Icarus how to resynthesize it, and Icarus will do it for you. And you have lots of options, so lots of space for either getting the perfect version of your import or having like a happy accident like experiences. So today I'm just going to show you some of the import functions, or maybe all of the import functions, with some simple vocal samples. Maybe I tried some others too. This is all I want to talk about today. It's going to be a short video in contrast to the other videos in this series, so far at least. So you go here, you can file import wavetables if you already know how many samples are in a waveform and so on. You can load a whole wavetable. You can load single cycle waveforms into like one of the slots here. Or you can go to resynthesis and click one of the options. Select some audio file. Really doesn't depend how long it is. Of course, if it's like a few minutes long, then you will get like a jumbled noise or something like that. And if it's too short, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you have some like a sung la la la, or a word spoken, or some sound effect, or like a few cycles, a few seconds of some sound, it works pretty nice on every instance that I tried it. In my opinion, Icarus really has the best import options. When I want to edit and generate wavetables, I often reach for Serum, especially if I want to do complex modulation such as LFO point modulation or LFO curve point modulation. In Icarus, you also have a nice modulation options, but no LFO curve point modulation. So sometimes I reach for Serum when I want to do this. And also the editing options are nice. In many regards, very similar to Icarus. For instance, you can do here the noise types thing that you can do in Icarus. You can also do in Serum, and smoothing, and here grid-based stuff. You can do in both synths, or the simple painting, of course. But here the processing is very different from between Serum and Icarus. Sometimes I process the waveform, I import it in Icarus, process it a little bit, then import it into Serum, or export it from Icarus, import it into Serum. Sometimes I generate it in Serum and import it into Icarus to use some of the processing functions here. So it really depends on what I want to do. Make a lot of use of both wavetable synths. Yeah, now I scrambled the waveform, so let's try it again, resynthesis. Here you have a smart pitch snap, static pitch. I think you have smart pitch snap or dynamic pitch and static pitch also in Serum. You also have resynthesis additive or for noisy sounds. Noisy sounds really works well for noisy sounds, but not for other sounds. Then you have a granulator that is also interesting, but doesn't work well for all kinds of sounds. And you also have here the 4 vocoder options. So let's start with a smart pitch snap. Take a vocal sample. Have to wait a little bit. Oh, I changed the octave too. Yeah, you have some fluttering type of glitchiness going on. Let's try the static pitch. I think the smudge pitch snap brings in a little bit different attack. But let's try another one, additive. Also very similar in this case. Let's try noisy for noisy sounds. It's also interesting, depending on what you want to do with it. But as you can hear, very different sound from something like this. It's much clearer, more cleaner. Then you also can make a resynthesis based on the note. So if you know which note is played, then you get like a different. You see the note, like if it is too high, the original singer was low. It's more in the ballpark, but of course it wasn't a clean C that was sung. But you can also get to some interesting happy accident type of stuff by doing this. And now let's try the vocoder. There we probably want to shift the octave down a bit. As you can see, you get some different tonal attributes depending on the recording option. Silky is often also very nice. Yeah, here you can see, can hear the saw. Here the square wave characteristics. Silky is like a little bit in between, and noise has like a little bit more, yeah, like a shifting, wavy kind of character to it. Of course, you can do all kinds of processing after you do a resynthesis. Let's try some different. Now here the octave is too low. So for these four, you usually so you get a big deeper sound. This of course depends on which C you want to import. And the granulator is like a very special case. Let's do a granulator with a first sound. It's interesting. You also have just have to check where it is. Harmonic. No, not sample. Phase distort. I thought you have a granulize option here to. Granulator, yeah. Formant, of course, yeah. It gives you a very different effect. Yeah, this is just looks like a multiplication of the waveform with some fade in and fade out. Number of multiplication depends on the morph parameter. But yeah, that's kind of interesting that you have granulating resynthesis and also like a granulator morph capability. Yeah, you see the granulator is very different from the first three. Noisy sound also gives you very different. I have to switch the octave again. Also gives you a very different result, and the vocoder options of course too. And this is for when you export, like from another synthesizer, you export or you just sample a specific tone, and you already know what note is played. Or if you have a singer that sings a specific C here, you can use these. Yeah, maybe let's try some different waveforms. Yeah, here you can see the result. Maybe let's look at the result in the 3D view with the different options again. You see, it looks pretty nice and smooth. Oh, that was wrong. Yeah, second one. Also pretty smooth, as you can hear in the sound. It's also and additive. You see here. You have some fluttering going on, but also pretty smooth, I would say. Now noisy sound. Lots of peaks and fluttering. So this is really noisy. Either you want to go like experimental or want to glitch up things, or you really have a noisy sound, then you use the resynthesis for noisy sounds. The granulator. That's very different, you can see it. Yeah, that's a really different result that you get with this granulator function. Let's also try this with a 3D display. And you see it has like a typical square character here, saw character. This is more square-like. Of course not a clean square, it's just vocoding the sample based on the square. Silky. Let's look how that's displayed. And get like more evenly distributed peaks and noisy, of course, even more distributed with some fluttering and changing peaks. But you can imagine here you have four, let's not count these, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different resynthesis modes for any kind of sound where you don't have to know which kind of note it is. Just Tone2 Icarus is gonna synthesize the sound based on what option you pick here. You don't have to tell it how long it is or anything else, just very simple to use. Just drop a sample here or just you use these options here and you can directly resynthesize any sound. As I said, like not too short, not too long, but anything in between. It's gonna work, or usually one of these is going to work. Let's try maybe some speaking. That's like an old school sample that you have in a game like Deus Ex when you walk by some kind of computer. Sounds like it a little bit. Yeah, let's try some of the other ones. Oh yeah, here you really hear a big difference. Let's try Saw 2. And noise should work a little bit better as compared to the long old note. It's like a little bit scrambled, but interesting sound. Let's this for comparison. Not bad. That sounds pretty good. Very. Oh wait, I must do the old one. Yeah, maybe a little bit duller in this case. That sounds a little bit more like computer-like, or like artificial. Yeah, that's definitely more noisy. I really hear the differences. And last but not least, also try the... Now we have to pitch up again. No, I have to pitch down. It's working too, but it's much more glitchy, I would say. Yeah, let's try it with some noisy sound. Maybe... And I have to check how long the samples are, so there's something that gives us a little bit of time. Okay, get this in the right octave. That's very different now. Yeah, here you can really see the difference very strongly in that waveform. Still the same. Don't see any difference now. Ah, yeah, a little bit. I'm blind. Yeah. Didn't it work, or was it too fast for my eyes? Very strange. Different one. Ah, yeah, it's very fast. I just didn't see it. Okay. See, there in such noisy, complicated or chaotic samples, you often have some more differences with regard to the first three resynthesis modes, especially if you have like pitch shifts and so on. And of course the noisy samples get interpreted as changing pitch usually. That's interesting, it's completely different. Yeah, that's just like a strange noisy sound that you get. It doesn't really has a big resemblance to the original sound, but as you heard, when you have a longer constant sound like a sung note or something like that, you get a very result that's closer to the original, so to speak. Let's synthesize something else. Maybe applause. That's an interesting idea. It's a little bit too fast. Doesn't work so well. It's a very noisy sound, so maybe the noisy resynthesis method will work better for me later. Yeah, this doesn't work good at all. It doesn't also doesn't sound so good, I would say. It's like a glitchy drum pattern, but it really doesn't sound like applause. Oh, well, let's skip the silky and just try. Yeah, I would say maybe that's a little bit closer to the original. Let's try different kind of applause. It's interesting because it's the result is not very good. But of course it depends on the length of the sample. So the applause sample is a little bit longer. Let's just try the noise for noisy sounds. Even darker. And noise vocoding. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I would say the noise-based vocoding is not bad in this instance. Let's try a shorter noisy sound. Of course, the noisy sounds are something I'm not working as much with for wavetabling as compared to like sounds with a clearer tonal part or tonal aspects. Maybe a single clap. Oh, here you see it has a lots of wavetable for the single clap, so this should work much better. Of course, we have to up the speed. Oh, I forgot for the previous one, I forgot to turn the octaves up. And you see, this sounds really, really nice. That's like that's a perfect clap. You can do that and put some filters on it and really use it as is and in any track, I would say. But better to make an applause like this in this case. Not really, but you get the meaning. Yeah, let's try the noise-based vocoding here. Of course, here we have to go lower with the octaves again. Let's put this to 50. Yeah, it's very noisy, but actually not that bad, depending on which sound you want to reach. Let's try this. The resynthesis for noisy sounds. You have to go up with the octaves. Very nice too. I'm not sure which I like better here. Yeah, maybe this. The smart pitch snap is nice here. Let's try the static pitch. Yeah, I think the smart pitch snap is my favorite here. Let's try additive for good measure. Yeah, you see it wants to create like a more synth-like sound. That's maybe nice for if you want to make some plug. You can start with a sound like that. Additive resynthesis of a short drum sound or something should be nice for a plug sound. Maybe let's try one more. Like a water sound. Yeah, that's interesting. How will it handle a water sound? Yeah, of course, this is very, very difficult. The same. The clicking. Oh, it just sounds very similar. think this is much slower in the original. It's like a bubble, water bottle bubble coming up. Let's try this last. Oh, change the octave. Yeah, I see for longer noisy recordings, it can have some problems, but for shorter noise type recordings and even longer recordings of tonal parts, it's really working very well. I'm a little bit surprised at how it handles stuff I'm testing out right now. Because normally, of course, when I have a water recording, I don't want to use it in a wavetable synthesizer. I process it with effects usually, very rarely using that, these. I'm very rarely using samples like that in a wavetable oscillator to make music. This is more interesting, but it doesn't sound so much like a water bubble. Do I have any effects on or something? Macro, yeah, this just because I'm playing it with the LinnStrument, so the macro is going up when I'm playing it, but I don't have anything assigned to the macro. For fun, to show you how easy it is to transform this even more without modulation, we can assign something to the morph knob here. Where's the mod? I think I should put in the complete keyboard. Here's the mod wheel. It's hidden when you, I wanted it a little bit smaller because I wanted to show you what I have down here, the equalizer. So the equalizer is in the background, at least if someone is interested. But so here you can change the size of the synth, and I use this hide keyboard. But if you go to show keyboard, you have the assignments for pitch and mod wheel. Of course, you can always assign it here in the matrix. MIDI mod wheel pitch wheel, that's also very easy. But I was confused for a moment where my mod wheel assignment is. So let's assign this here to the morph. It doesn't sound very nice, but you probably get what you can do with it. Maybe some mirroring. The effect is not so strong. Oh, let's do like octave stacking. Yeah, it's a very noisy sound. Let's re-synthesize another vocal sample. Yeah, maybe harmonized. Let's see how it handles that. And let's put maybe some sync in. Of course, with a MPE instrument such as a LinnStrument, you always have to adjust your modulation a little bit. Some synthesizers, you have a pedal for MPE stuff where you can put in the curves and so on. But in most others, you have to do it just by, if you have like options on your MPE controller, of course you can do it. But also here by how strong the effect of, in this case, of my Y dimension in my LinnStrument is for the for this assignment. That's a little bit too fast. And as you can see here, when I play a chord with my LinnStrument, it sends 3 Y values. So it jumps between the 3 Y values for the mod wheel. That's why I have a special MPE parameter that usually handles it better with playing different notes in parallel. But right now I've set my LinnStrument to playing mod wheel on the Y dimension. So it doesn't sound so good when I play a chord. This assignment. Yeah, but I think you get the different resynthesis options here. It's really nice for just throwing some audio files into Icarus and checking out the different options and look like, what are you giving me now, Icarus? Does it sound good to my ears? Does it sound close to the original? Is it like a nice happy accident and so on? This is really fun. And it also opens up lots of options because you can use all your wave files. Basically, you can cut out little snippets out of longer waves and so on. So yeah, Icarus is really a nice synthesizer. It doesn't have the formula parser or LFO point modulation that you find in Serum, but it has more really nice resynthesis options in Serum. I can show you again for comparison. Here you go to Wavetable editing, import, and you can here tell Serum how complex the FFT resynthesis is. You can import with fixed frame size if you know how big your frames in your existing wavetable are. So this is usually for normal, for Wavetable, or at least I'm using it by the way. Or you also have pitch zero snap and pitch follow, and you can use single cycle. So you also have some options here, but I really like that in Icarus you have these vocoder options, granulize options, the noise-based option for the resynthesis for noisy sound, and the vocoding for vocoding based on noise. So this is really interesting, and of course the Wavetable editor is very complex with all these options you have here. So you can really process your imported audio files in a nice way too in Icarus. Another thing that Serum does a little bit better is the matrix here. For most applications these are not enough slots, but for others maybe you want a bigger matrix. If you look here, the matrix is a little bit bigger. I think it's 64 slots here, or maybe only 32. Yeah, it looks like only 32. 2, 4, 5, 6, 8. Yeah, 32 probably. And here you have 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, 18 slots. This is also nice. Of course, you can do lots of stuff with 18 slots of modulation, and counting in that you also have these hard-coded modulations that don't even show up in the matrix. And how many you have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the volume envelope 9, filter envelope 10. I think that's it. So you have 18 plus 10, 28 modulation assignments, 10 of them hard-coded, which is also very nice. You can really go creative and do complex modulation with it. But as I said, the thing I really love Icarus most for is the Wavetable editor, the Wavetable import specifically, and also really great are these MSEGs, as it's called in Icarus. They give you a little bit bigger space as compared to Serum, and you also can build very, very complex LFOs very fast. You also have some presets here. Some of them in the factory bank are made by me. Maybe they are helpful for you. Maybe you can just switch them up a little bit. But yeah, filter options in Icarus are also very nice. A very big selection with some interesting stuff such as physical modeling, or here the vocalic, formant-like, or the comp filters, fractal filters, and so on, phaser. So lots of stuff to play around with in Icarus. But today I focused on the import of waves, any kind of audio file with resynthesis and vocoder options here in Icarus. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Next time I'm going to talk about Wavetable synthesizer plugins that don't have an editing section for the Wavetables. But these plugins that I'm going to talk about instead give you two morph options that you can use in parallel. So these synthesizers next time feature parallel morphing. They often don't have as many options as Icarus or Serum or Vital. But yeah, Vital also features two options, I have to say. But Vital is the only synthesizer I present that has both an editing, wavetable editing option and parallel morphing. Short for you for a second here. 2 slots here and here for the morphing. So the two synths I talked about in this session and the last session are like my favorite wavetable synths because of the editing import options, and in the case of Serum, the LFO curve point modulation and formulas. But these other synthesizers I'm going to talk about next week, they allow you to really morph the sound in parallel with two options, which is really great. So see you next time, and thanks again for listening.